Hi everyone, and welcome to Straight Talk with Steph. And we are on the Women in Property series today, and we've got the lovely Jessica. You can find Jessica online. Her handle is at Jessica Mortgages. She is one of the contributors to the Women in Property books, Volume 1. So it's really cool that you were part of the first one, Jessica. So welcome. How are you? You're right today?
Yeah, I'm really good. I'm really good.
Good, good. It's really good to have you, and thanks so much for coming on. So I'm just going to kick off and say straight away, you're a mum of three,
Hmm.
you're a mortgage broker, and you're a property investor. You work
Yes.
7 days a week. How do you manage to balance all of those roles and stay motivated at the same time?
Um, I think I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, when you feel at the end of the week on a Friday or a Saturday, what's going on? What's happened? Wow, look at the week that's happened. But I don't know. I think it's my background, my back upbringing. We had a shop 7 days a week. Maybe it's that, and I just think if I'm not busy, I actually feel like I stagnate. So it's it motivates me to do more. I do sometimes, like this morning, I did stop and think, why am I like this? Why am I like, come on, get up, come on? But like, I just am. I can't give you any example reasons why. I just am like that. Um,
It's like some people are just it's just in them, isn't it? But
yeah.
you touched on then, you had a shop, it was 7 days a week for you.
Mm,
So actually I wanna talk about that a little bit. I want to
yeah.
talk about your family, I want to talk about your background, and I want to talk about your father, your dad. And I think what really shone out in the chapter is that his entrepreneurial spirit has had a big impact on you. So
Mhm.
I actually links into my next question. What are some of the like valuable lessons that he's taught you about business and life that impact you today?
Just definitely that you just got to keep striving. You got to keep going. And even when you think, oh, just chill out, you can't. You've got to get up. I mean, even I was thinking about this the other day. Like where people say the saying, or when you stop working, suddenly everything starts, falling apart, and your body falls apart. Um, he was retired. I mean, he should have been semi-retired, and he was still working. He wasn't able-bodied towards the end because he had diabetes, and it was quite debilitating in the end. But he was still like doing deals on his deathbed. He was buying a house.
Love that.
Literally, the solicitor came and he signed an auction property on his deathbed. And I
Wow.
still, to this day, and I remember we got the keys, and obviously he'd passed away. And I remember me and my sister going in and stripping the walls, and it was quite emotional, but I do think therapeutic as well.
Yeah.
Um, but we were like, we have to do this for Daddy, and it was a bit like that. But yeah, so like the solicitor was like, oh my goodness, he's on his deathbed, and he's signing the documents. What?
Still hustling on the
Yeah,
deathbed. I
yeah.
love that. That's amazing. And that's really
Mm,
inspiring. And I think you talk about your mum as well. You credit
mm,
like your mum's resilience, your mum's
yeah.
determination as a major influence as well. So I suppose my question then is how has her example like inspired the way you juggle your different roles in your
Yeah.
life?
So she's a bit different to my dad. So my dad studied, and my dad was the breadwinner, and my mum was kind of like the glue, always making the best food. And she, even now, when he passed, we had the shop, and she was the glue. Like, when customers come up to me even now, they're like, oh, how's Jazzy? Is she doing all right? Um, she's just got the biggest smile you can ever imagine, and she's got a heart filled with love, and she just wraps you up in that love, and she's absolutely lovely. But I do think in a dynamic of an entrepreneur and his partner, you need one to be the go-getter and one to be a bit more like she was, and I think that's how it works. Yeah.
So like someone who's the business, the entrepreneur, and then the mum who's like nurturing and
Yes.
and I suppose in your background you've got a Sikh-Punjabi heritage.
Yes.
You do very much have the woman, the mother, the matriarch looking after everyone, feeding everyone.
Yes.
And that actually brings me to the question about your background. So you do talk about your Sikh Punjabi heritage and the influence
Yes.
it's had on your upbringing. So has that or how has that sort of cultural background shaped your approach to business? Do you think I don't know, do you think it's because of that heritage that you have a certain approach to business?
I do think the fact of my background of being Sikh and being Punjabi, and you don't really see many Sikh athletes, although they are coming up now, which is
Yeah.
amazing. You do see us more academic, and you do see us more in business. Not that sports and all the dance and all this are not good, because they are,
Yeah.
but I do think that my whole outlook is influenced by it, and I definitely think as well the way I manifest and the way I believe that I can do things is to do with my background as well, my culture, because, we're taught to pray, and we're taught to, to think positively. And I do think this all impacts all of it 100%.
And then how does that then, is that influencing the way that you run your business and raise your daughters as well?
Yeah, definitely. So like, I do try and, keep a bit of the Asian and Punjabi in with us, and, teach the girls. But yeah, but I don't know. Although I'm teaching them to dance and do other curricular activities, not just academia, because it's not always academic. It's not for everybody.
No, and also it's good to explore. I'm thinking as an ex-teacher as well, it's good for kids to explore other things that are more like even like vocational, the active and the dancing, and it's self-expressive, isn't it? It's just interesting because I've got a friend that I went to university with, so I did English lit and theology as a combined degree, and we studied the six major world religions, including Sikhism, and
Right.
he was Sikh as well, and he used to call himself a supermarket Sikh, like he would take what he wanted out of it. And I was like, I'm not sure that classes as you're devout. But he was very academic as well, and he had a sister who went down. She was basically did ballet, and it was very I wouldn't say not what's the word I'm looking for. It was just unusual for their family and their culture. So that's why I was wondering about your daughters. Do they
Yeah.
have the same sort of? Are you bringing them up with that heritage as well?
So my mum definitely still brings, she's really impactful, taking them to the temple, and she does all, like the cooking chapatis and doing all bits with them. So my mum's really good like that, because I'll be honest with you, not the I love my faith and everything, but I'd just say I am British as well. I'm proud to be British, so I've got the element of both aspects in me, and I just think you need that as well.
Yeah, I love that as well, and because then you found it's what works for you. You found that I've got this culture and I've got that culture, and you can be both, and you can have both, and you can embrace both. I love that. You've mentioned your mum's food twice now. I'm gonna have to ask what does she cook? That's amazing.
Oh, she's amazing. Oh, you have to come to our house. So she's a feeder. 100% a feeder. She feeds my girls non-stop. When they're at her house, they're like, we love Nanny. She feeds us all the time. But literally, she's brilliant at chapatis, curries. I mean, she's actually a vegan. She doesn't eat meat, but she does cook it for us. So I can't, I've never heard of a chef that never tastes their food to see if the right salt and the right, pepper or whatever herbs and spices are in there. But she can do it.
Has she been vegan like her whole life, or
Yeah.
Wow,
Well,
okay.
she did eat meat she never really ate meat. No, her whole life,
Yeah. But I bet she made chapatis. I'm starving just thinking about it. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to come for tea. I do want to move on. I want to talk about and I suppose in some ways maybe your mum's influence and your dad's influence all come into this, but you weren't the only woman in the chapter in the book to talk about imposter syndrome. You probably read the book, so you know this anyway. Especially when it comes to like navigating difficult property investments, even for beginners. We all have that imposter syndrome, and I can't do it. I'm a fraud. I'm not good enough, and we compare. And so, for women reading the book, then who may have imposter syndrome or think that they can't do it or they're struggling, what advice would you give to those women who are struggling with that self-doubt in their own property journey?
Do you know what? I've had it in the last few weeks, because I'm trying to do something different I've not done before. I have done a commercial at Resi before, but it was with my sister. But I have not done one on my own. And I've been looking and going and viewing properties that and more like with a shop space and with a perspective to do uppers, or maybe even you know, like a HMO at the back. I don't know. So at first, about 2 or 3 years ago, when I first came onto the market, I was like, oh, I spoke to all the big names in property out there. And, you know, I was like, oh, I really need, you know, a mentor to do this, and I need it, and which is fine. But they were like, you've already been kind of doing this. Why do you not think you can do this? And I think it's just talking yourself. Sometimes we talk ourselves out of situations, and then maybe we should talk ourselves up and just say, well, what's going to really bad that's going to happen? So I've been going to the viewings. I'm learning what questions to be asking, because it's slightly different to normal buy-to-lets. And it has been daunting over the last few weeks. I'm the only girl. I'm not a girl, I'm a woman, but I'm the only woman.
Yeah.
And then the agents have been saying it's totally different. Commercial is so different to like the buy-to-let side of things, estate agents. And I'm like, hi, and I'm really chatty and friendly, and they're like, they just don't know what to do. They're like, oh, it's a girl. Oh, but yeah, I just think imposter syndrome. Look, we all get it. I get it. I still get it on a daily basis, even though I know what I'm doing on your normal bog standard buy to lets. I still get it on them. I get it in my mortgage business. And I just think it's something. It's called self doubt, and I just think you just got to work through it and just take baby steps to avoid it.
And that's the thing as well. I think a lot of people just want the secret sauce, the golden nugget, the magic, like, how do we get over this imposter syndrome? And it's like, it's probably never really going to go away, but you learn to deal with it. And then I suppose you prove to yourself that you're good when you go out and you do, even though we know we are deep down, we're good enough. Of course we are.
Yeah.
The more you achieve, the more you sort of trust yourself in that situation to go again. But I also think it's important to note that I think people listening to this and people reading the book will really resonate with it and respect the vulnerability there, because, you know, we are investors, we are women in business, and we, you know, we are these boss women or whatever you want to call us, but we all still get that, oh shit, like, I really don't know about this. Is this the right thing to do?
Yeah.
And I want to go back. You've just mentioned you're the only woman in this sort of space speaking to these agents.
Yeah.
Have you found any challenges with that?
Yeah,
Or
100%. Yeah, even when I was looking around, so this particular deal is a really good deal, but and I keep ringing him every day, and I think they just think I'm annoying. Why should I keep ringing again? Like when I went to view the properties, even the people going to view, they were like, oh, it's a girl, but it's not. I'm not a girl, but sometimes I do look young.
Yeah.
Some of them were really open and friendly, but the majority of them were older men. They were all over 50 something.
Yeah.
They all looked distinguished. And I'm there rocking up in the tracksuit, with my Uggs on. I'm like, hi, and with the red lippy on and the hair like this. Or I think it was in this actually, a tracksuit. They must have thought, who's she? And I'm like, and then I'm asking questions, have you got a lease? And they're like, why is she asking? Because none of the other guys even asked that.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself straight away, if it's going to go to a lender, they're going to want to know about the lease. They're going to want to know what the rent is being received, because the agent didn't even know the actual rents per like shop. So I'm like,
Sounds promising.
I know, and I was like, maybe I was just too like. Sometimes I feel, I don't know if any of the other women are like, I'm too open, and sometimes I need to close a bit. But I can't change me. I'm me. And so far it's done me good stead. But I do find sometimes, especially even in mortgages, when you're with a lot of men, their whole perspective is totally different. And same with the commercial side of things. So yeah, I am trying to navigate that. And then I've had lots of imposter syndrome.
It's interesting, Ali. You're like, oh, am I too open? And, do I need to like close off a little bit more? And I think you're not the only woman. And I'm the same. Sometimes I'm like heart on my sleeve. This is what I'm doing. I'm dead excited. And it's come back to bite me in the arse sometimes. But men aren't often like that in that space. Women are, because I think we make better leaders. I think we make better business decisions. I don't hate men. I've got great men in my life. I love them and they support what we do. But and obviously I've got business partners who are men and so on. But we are different. But I think I think we should be unapologetic about that.
Yeah.
I think we should be absolutely unapologetic. And when you're asking questions saying, "Have you got a lease? Have you got this? Have you got that?" and the other guys aren't, and they're looking at you, I think sometimes some men look at me as if I've got three heads because I'm
Yeah.
asking questions like they're surprised I can string a sentence together because I'm a woman, and I'm like you. I'll rock up. I've got little jumpers with little like this,
Yeah.
little lightning bolts on, leopard print nails, lippy eyelashes, and they're a bit, who's she? But I think it's got to, like you said, it's gotten you where you want to be. It's gotten you to where you are, and you're
Mm.
going to keep striving because that's what you do. So I think it's being freaking unapologetically you and
Authentic
free.
as well, being your authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
that really does come out in your chapter, being yourself. It really, really does. And I wanted on, because we're talking about men and women in the business space. I mean, do you think your daughters will end up going into that space of business?
Hope so. I
Yeah.
hope so. So obviously we had the shop and we've grown up in the shops, and my dad had two shops. And so obviously I, as a little girl, was taking on the tills, stock taking and putting stock out, replenishing it. And that to me is like a skill anyway, and making something look presentable. So obviously we've lost that because they've not grown up in that kind of working environment. I mean, we will be carrying stuff in from the van, offloading, unloading, doing this. So it was pure work all the time.
Yeah.
So my girls haven't got that. So what I do is when we're doing the properties, we'll load them up, and I'm like, right, we're going to the properties. We're gonna be, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, don't do that, don't do that. And I says, because we have these nice things. Them houses get us these nice things. And then my big girl said to me, Mummy, so and so at school said we get money for them people living in our house. And I went, yeah, we do. She was like, do we, Mummy? I went, yeah, it's called rent. All right, Mummy. I says, you're going to get this big career. You need to have a sideline. And she says, why, Mummy? I went, because you like nice things. I says, Mummy does too. I says, so the nice things don't just come from your wage. You need to have something else giving you them nice things. Oh, right. So we can go on more holidays. I'm like, well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing, unfortunately. Like, that's so good. I think it's amazing that you instill that because the schools don't do that. They haven't
Mhm.
necessarily got the capacity to do that. It might not even be relevant for them to do that.
Mm.
That's a whole other podcast, I'm sure.
Mm.
That's really good because unfortunately, yeah, your wage isn't going to pay you what you want. It's not, it might make you happy and comfortable, but we
Mm.
need something else. But again, having a job is, it's a good thing as well because we learn skills and we
Yes.
work with different types of people and that kind of
Mm.
thing. But absolutely, and it's. I mean, how old are they again? Remind me how old
So
they
I've
are.
got a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old.
That's right. Not, yeah. Wow. Okay.
Handful. Handful.
Yeah. Yeah. But then this is the thing as well. Like you've got something to leave them, not just maybe necessarily properties, but a legacy in regards to the business values, the family values, everything that you instill in them is the legacy, isn't it? So I think that's amazing. Um, I want to touch on what you talked about with regards to like giving back. So you emphasize the importance of like community,
Mm.
both where you live in the property world,
Mm.
and you also mentioned like social housing as an
Yeah.
important strategy, basically, or area for property investment. So
Yes.
talk to me about your social housing strategy. Talk to me about your plans, what you've got, and what you put in the book as well.
Okay, so in a nutshell, my dad always did universal credit and low income families. That was our bread and butter. But obviously, you can't make lots of money from this. Yeah, it is not the area. I mean, okay, there is some people doing strategies where they're renting houses out for 2,500, 3,000 a month. But I'm talking about just giving to the properties to the council or for low income families and doing it that way. We did do the whole of the portfolio was like that. But obviously with certain individuals there are challenges as well, where the police may be called sometimes, and it was getting a bit too much for us. So what we decided was about 4 years ago, we split the portfolio where half was still to the social housing aspect, so universal credit, low income families and families that are wanting to, you know, live together and like have a nice life, have a nice clean house. But then we decided to move half of it to professionals or people who are working, just because we found where the council may stop a payment because some issue with the benefit, then that would mean that would impact us. And if we had a mortgage on it, it would mean we would be using our own money to subsidise that property until the payment started again. And you know, between me and you, it's kind of full time as well when you have certain particular tenants in the properties. But I've got such a good relationship with some of them where if the payments do stop, they'll let me know, and then I'll go down, I'll write a letter with them. But we just felt as our portfolio, it only worked out that we have half like that and then half with professionals that are working, and it just works for us. I think if we'd have kept it as it was, and with everything that's gone on with the mortgage market, we would have really had to try and sell some stuff.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think some people who aren't in property don't really understand that. Even like social housing as well. If you even on leases, sometimes if it's supported living, it carries. Well, you'll know this being a broker. You've got sometimes higher interest rates.
Yeah,
it's cracking.
Some lenders don't like it. Some lenders don't like them because obviously these individuals that are in the properties when they're on particular contracts, they're vulnerable individuals. So the lender doesn't want us to be seen to be, you know, evicting, so to speak, if the mortgage isn't paid. So that's why. So it's only specific mortgages you can go for with them. I'm quite lucky because some of my portfolio I own outright, so I haven't had to have that issue. But then the ones, so the professionals go in the ones with the mortgages.
Yeah, and then I suppose it doesn't put a lender at risk. It doesn't put them at risk, you know. And obviously you've got leverage as well. You've got when income with properties is good leverage. Right, so my last question then, Jessica, is I think it's your chapter when I first read it, and I've read it a couple of times, obviously, because we went through the editing process. Honest to God, I mean it when I say it was so like such an inspiring read, and I loved the photos that you put in as well with your dad, you as a little girl. I loved it. It was so humbling. It gave me goosebumps at certain parts as well. So what 2 questions. What motivated you to contribute your story? And what do you want other women or other readers to take from it?
So firstly, it was on my bucket list. I've always, well, I wanted to write a full book, but I don't know if I've got that in me. So it's kind of definitely a tick for the bucket list because I've always had it in my head that I would love to do that. And then the second thing is, I personally feel it's a disservice if I don't tell people my story. My dad, many times in the cash and carry, used to be sat with people telling him how he did it. And I don't think, look, and I remember someone said to him, "Oh, why do you always tell everyone?" And he was like, "Well, whatever they achieve from me telling them my story, it's not going to lessen what I am." And I totally fully believe that. You know, if I explain to you and I help you to, you know, do what I've done, it's only going to add value to yourself and add value to me as well. Is to do with a bit about the Sikh religion as well. We believe in, you know, lifting each other up, and so I think it's to do with that as well.
That's lovely, and people are going to get so much from it. We've already had like reviews and everything commenting on the book, and I just know, and I love that. You're right. Just because you know, if you help someone, it doesn't take anything from you. It builds you and it builds them. I really love that. So I just want to say thank you for coming on the podcast, and thank you massively for contributing to the book. So if you want to get your hands on a copy of the book, you can click the link in the bio, or you can head over to Amazon. And if you do, please write us a nice review. Thanks for coming to Straight Talk with Steph.